Gallimera, Gallimera, Gallimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And today I've started the broadcast from looking through the window on the back balcony. As you can see, the hills or the mountains behind us are looking like the Cairngorms at the moment, just covered in mist and cloud. It is chucking it down with rain, so that's the reason why the broadcast is being done from inside. But other than that, yeah, it is not looking very nice at all today. Can I say thank you to Amanda for a concise weather forecast? She says, "Morning, Ginge. Just be aware that today we have occasional thunderstorms and cloud. It's going to be 18 degrees Celsius, but it's going to feel like 17. Have a nice day." Well, to be honest, we've already been having thunderstorms within about the last half an hour. We've been sat listening to the crack of thunder, and you may hear a few cracks of thunder throughout the podcast. But anyway, that's the rain for you today. Or just look in there. You can probably just see, if I just zoom in a bit, the oranges there. On the trees at the moment, and also the lemons as well. They're just over there. So at the moment, yeah, the crops are coming through. They're certainly getting well and truly watered. I don't know what it's like where you are, Shane, at the moment on Exmoor, but thank you for tuning in yesterday to the podcast, to the broadcast on Beats Radio. So anyway, we're going to go in now to the lounge and crack on with the news of today. I've got to be honest, there's quite a bit of news today, and I'm going to give you a warning now. It is a little bit COVID heavy, and I've also got a quick snapshot of news of the UK as well. Right, so first of all, before we start, as always, let's start looking at the daily infection rate here in Greece in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, I told you we had 6,216 new cases in Greece across the country. Well, today, the number is 6,201. So we've had a slight decrease within the last 24 hours of infections. At the moment, that brings the grand total up to 957,552. Since the beginning of the pandemic. There were 3 new cases that were identified after checks into the country, which was down on the day before where we had 13. Now, at the moment, there has only been 1 reported case of Omicron in Greece at the moment. There's been no new reports of any more. But again, we will keep an eye out for that. So at the moment, this is the normal COVID variant at the moment that's been detected. All right. Whether they're going to separate the numbers and say this is Omicron, this is the other variant, we don't know, all right? But at the moment, there's only been 1 case of the Omicron reported here, and that was in Crete. When it comes to cases on the islands at the moment, those numbers are looking very interesting as well. Lefkada, one of our neighbours, they reported 6 cases yesterday. Believe it or not, today they're also reporting 6 cases, and they are in the green. Their numbers have been fluctuating between 6, 5, 4, 3, 0 on one day, 6 yesterday, and 6 today. So again, their numbers have been going up and down. Now, when it comes to Corfu announced that they had 96 new cases, which was down on the day before where they had 101. Corfu, just to remind you, are in the dark red as far as the Greek traffic light system is concerned. And when we look at Kefalonia has also seen a slight drop as well in infections. They reported 18 on the other day. Today it is 15 new infections on their island, and they are in the yellow. As for Zakynthos, again, we can report a slight drop as well. We had 13 new cases reported yesterday. Today, I can report to you that 12 new cases have been detected, and Zakynthos is in the amber. Can I also say as well, there's an amendment to the amount of infections that we had for November. You might remember I restarted my podcasts quite late in November. And up until the end of November, I'd calculated 388 infections here on Zakynthos. Yesterday, the hospital put a little statement out to say that November was a black record, where they'd had calculated 566. So November for us was not good. We had 566 infections on the island. And that was the highest number. When you look at the figures, like in August, I had calculated 376. July, I'd calculated 272. In June, we'd had only 7. And then we had 44 in May, 177 in April, 184 in March, 70 in February, and also 30 in January. So again, the numbers were much, much lower. Now, when it comes to deaths at the moment, there has been 97 new deaths across the country. That is up on yesterday, where there had been 89 new deaths, and the day before that we had 75. So again, the numbers have been going up and down with deaths across Greece, but 97 new deaths. That brings the total now to 18,427. The average age of those people were over the age of 70, and 95% of those people had underlying health conditions. And once again, no deaths have been attributed to the Omicron variant in any of the deaths here in Greece as well. So once again, our condolences to the family. And just, if you remember, yesterday we did have the passing of a 61-year-old man here on Zakynthos from the virus. And again, condolences to his family as well. When it comes to ICUs across Greece at the moment, that number, believe it or not, has dropped ever so slightly. We were at 704 yesterday. Today I can report 694. So that's 10 cases, 10 beds now that have been freed up. Critical cases then, of that 694, 430 were male, 264 were female, and the average age of those people was 64 years of age. 81.3% had underlying health issues or were over the age of 70. Now, regarding their vaccination status of those 694, 549 were unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, which is about 79% of them, and 145 were actually fully vaccinated, which was a 20.89% of them. Again, as I've said before, what they class as partially vaccinated and fully vaccinated, not sure if they're running on the UK system, where if you haven't had the third jab booster, you are then technically qualified as partially vaccinated. I'm not sure if that's come in yet or that will come in, but again, that's something just to bear in mind. Just a quick snapshot of what's going on in the UK at the moment, just because people like to do a bit of a comparison between here and the UK, Greece and the UK. There's been a further 75 cases of COVID-19 Omicron variant have been identified in England. That was confirmed yesterday. It now brings the total number of Omicron infections in the UK now up to 134, as Wales confirmed its first cases today. It's not currently known whether today's new cases were in double jabbed or non-vaccinated individuals. Data on the confirmed COVID cases in England show that the Omicron variant is already starting to take hold. All right, the proportion of confirmed positive cases that didn't detect the spike in protein increases also arose from 0.1% to 0.3%. One scientist said that equates to around 60 more cases with the hallmark than usual, suggesting Omicron infections. Now, once again, they're also saying that 3.5 in South Africa's Omicron's epicenter now at the moment is the Gauteng province. I'm not sure if that's how you say that, but a leading UK epidemiologist says Omicron infections likely to appear as mild because from the immunity from either past infections or from having the actual vaccine already. So again, at the moment, when you consider the population of the UK is around about 60 odd million people, 134 cases is very, very small. And if anybody's been watching the podcast that I put in from the Hill. Have a watch of that, because there's some very, very good points and questions being raised in that podcast about the virulence of this new variant, and also the mass, shall we say, rush to hysteria with the new variant as well. But again, have a look at that and see what you think. Anyway, let's have a look at the Greek news then. Again, for me personally, I'm not happy with what's happened at the moment. The Council of State, that's Greece's top court, they ruled on Friday that the policy of mandatory vaccination is constitutional, as appointments for the first dose of the COVID vaccine skyrocketed this week. Now, the plenary session of the court rejected all requests for the annulment of relevant ministerial decisions for the mandatory vaccination of employees such as firefighters, doctors, nurses and ambulance staff. Anyway, the court ruled that especially for the medical and nursing staff, vaccination is a constitutional obligation that demonstrates a social solidarity. Anyway, the Greek government on Thursday did not rule out an extension of the mandatory vaccination to order groups apart from those over 60s if the need arises. Anyway, mandatory vaccinations in Greece includes fines for the unvaccinated. On Tuesday, Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis announced that COVID vaccinations will be compulsory for all over the age of 60 across the nation, aiming to stem the surging COVID-19 cases in Greece. Mitsotakis said that the decision had tormented him. He stressed, however, that it is his responsibility to protect the vulnerable members of society. Lives will be saved by this decision. Vaccinations save lives, he further stated. Anyway, Greece's premier added that fines will be imposed upon citizens who do not comply with the new directive. Those over 60 who have not been vaccinated will have to make an appointment by January the 16th. Otherwise, a fine of €100 will be imposed. The fine will be issued by the Authority for Public Revenue, ADDE, basically the tax office, and this money will be collected in a special fund that will finance our hospitals, Mitsotakis said. Anyway, following the announcement, there has been a dramatic increase in the first dose of appointments for citizens aged 60 plus. According to the latest information, from noon last Tuesday till noon on Friday, 50,000 citizens had made appointments for vaccinations. In a Facebook post, the Minister of State, Zakynthos, said, one out of 10 people in the group of our most vulnerable fellow citizens who remain unprotected for 11 months made a life choice in just 3 days. We thank them and we will continue to build a firewall around the most vulnerable. Well, there you go. I'm not going to get drawn in on that, but you know my feelings as to this. We shall wait and see. Anyway, the Greek Health Ministry has announced citizens will now be able to book their booster shots for COVID-19 vaccines 3 months ahead of their second vaccine, which is now down to 6. Anyway, Marios Stremoulakis, the Secretary General for Primary Healthcare at the Ministry, said the vaccination booking website would be updated with the new procedures. He said the National Vaccination Committee recommended speeding up administering a third dose as it recognised the higher risk from the contagion of the Omicron variant and the winter temperatures. Anyway, similarly, people who have contracted the virus can take a third dose 3 months after their diagnosis. And for those who have taken the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which we were talking about the other day, the situation will not change. They can take a booster 2 months after their first dose. So again, the vaccine that was hailed as the one-shot wonder, I'm afraid, no, you're going to need 2 of that. Yes, but there you go. Anyway, Theromakis said that on Thursday alone, 30,000 bookings for the first vaccine dose were made. Of the bookings, 17,000 came from people aged 60 and over. He added that since the government announcement that all over 60s must be vaccinated by mid-January, a total of 45,000 bookings have been made from that age group. He also stated that in Greece, 78% of the adult population had been vaccinated. And I do remember at one point Mitsotakis saying that he wanted to get 71% vaccinated, and now the goalposts have moved and the numbers have gone up and we're at 78% already. Are you looking for a 100% vaccination rate? We'll wait and see, won't we? Anyway, interestingly, meanwhile, on Zakynthos, the Archbishop of Zakynthos, Dionysios, described the unvaccinated priests as the moral perpetrators in the death of unsuspecting or gullible confessors in a statement issued on Friday afternoon. Now, the Zakynthos Archbishop also announced the imposition of spiritual rewards on those clergymen of the Zakynthos diocese who proved to be disobedient, despite the recommendations and the anxious instructions of the Archbishop regarding the need for vaccination and non-manipulation of the faithful. Anyway, he said reserved the right of spiritual paternity, which is a form of confession, to all disobedient clergy until a new directive of their compliance. Now, finally, the Archbishop of Zakynthos left open the possibility of imposing new measures on disobedient priests. Anyway, finally, the Reverend said, our pastor reserves the right to use any additional measure to limit the disobedience, and always in favour of the health of each of the spiritual children who were entrusted to him by the Church and Christ to unify the flock. Anyway, one thing that has not been said in any of the release from the Archbishop that I've been able to find is how many of the 14 priests who said they weren't going to take the vaccine have actually taken the vaccine or not. That has not yet been revealed. It'll be interesting to see how many of them. One priest was, shall we say, suspended because I think that priest was more vocal in his saying of why he didn't want the vaccine. But as for the others, again, no word as how many of them have actually taken the vaccine. I'll be very curious to find out, to be quite honest. Anyway, another thing not related to COVID, Zakynthos Police arrested a foreign national yesterday. The foreigner was located by police as part of an investigation where he had been involved in breaking into a house and removing some jewellery. Now, in his possession, they found a confiscated chain, a stolen chain, which was then removed. It was also returned to its owner, but they also found a forged asylum seeker card as well. Now, the arrested person was taken to the Zakynthos Public Prosecutor's Office, and obviously an ongoing investigation is obviously going to continue, and also we'll see what happens. But again, this gentleman had a forged asylum seeker's card. Okay. Anyway, today, if you're not aware, I think the whole of Greece is quite excited about it, apart from the weather. Okay, that Pope Francis is heading to Greece today for the second leg of his trip to the region, with meetings in Athens aimed at bolstering recent-mended ties between the Vatican and the Orthodox churches. Now, Francis is on a 5 days visit. Predominantly, he's been in the visiting Orthodox Cyprus and Greece, and is focused on the plight of migrants as Europe hardens its border control policies. Now, talks on Saturday will turn to an emerging alliance between the eastern and western branches of Christianity to face major global problems, which also include climate change as well. Anyway, in 2001, Pope John Paul II became the first Catholic leader to visit Greece in more than 1,200 years. Francis has accelerated interfaith initiatives as the two churches attempt to shift from centuries of competition and mistrust towards collaboration. Now, in Athens, Francis will meet the leader of Greece's Orthodox Church, Archbishop Lemeros, as well as with the country's political leadership, including the Prime Minister Mitsotakis and the President Katrina Skalapoulou. At his meetings with the Orthodox Church leadership in Cyprus on Friday, Francis expressed his regret over the centuries of division between the two churches. Francis also invited Orthodox Christians and other religious leaders to the Vatican in October to sign a climate declaration. Supporters of the greater Vatican and Orthodox cooperation argued it could also assist with the beleaguered Christian communities in the Middle East and in North Africa. Anyway, Francis will meet with members of Greece's small Catholic community on Sunday and will return to the Aegean island of Lesbos, where he visited 5 years ago, to meet with migrants at the detention camp there. He brought dozens with him home aboard a papal jet in that time. Whether he'll do that again, that is to be seen. But anyway, just be aware that up to 4,000 police officers will be on duty in Athens for the Pope's visit, which ends on Monday. So you might find, if you're in Athens at the moment, getting around will be a little bit difficult, all right, because there'll be security all over the place. And we'd hate for the Holy Father to catch the Omicron variant on his visit to Greece. Anyway, and finally, a bit of good news for you. Although whether we'll see them or not is another question. Greece is the most popular destination in Europe for American tourists this year, according to a new study, and the 9th in the world. They're studied by Park Sleep Fly, analysed Google search data for flights, vacations and hotels in popular destinations around the world to discover the most popular and fastest growing vacation hotspot for US tourists this year is Greece, all right, or should I say for next year is Greece. It found that there were 333,800 searches on travelling to and vacations to Greece over the last 6 months. So hopefully we will see the Americans arrive. I know something, but I'm not allowed to say. If all goes to plan, we'll see a lot of American tourists here in the summer. And when I'm allowed to reveal, I shall reveal. But anyway, just to remind you, thank you to those people who tuned in yesterday to the dance anthem shows on beatsradio.co.uk. Just to remind you that the show is going to be repeated again tonight at 9 o'clock UK time, which is 11 o'clock Greek time. So come and join us in the chat room for a little chat. Thank you to those people in the chat room last night. Big shout out to Shane and also Sam Curtis. Shane is here online at the moment. Nice to see you looking in, fella. Also as well, just have a quick look, see who's tuning in. Brian Slinger, he says, you got their hair hanging out of your nose, buddy. Have I? I'll get Jane to check. Thank you for that, fella. Liz Saunders is watching as well. Also, Andy Orchard, first line responder over there in London. I'm not sure if you're on the job today or whether you're having a day off. Nice for you tuning in as well. Bernard Loftus over in Sillery. Nice to see you tuning in, old buddy. We shall be in touch. Ian Moss is also tuning in as well. I think he's a Raffridge friend of mine, if I remember rightly. Amanda Gregory, thank you for your weather forecast. She's tuning in. Big shout out to Israel as well today, to Eric over there, Eric the postman. Nice to have you tuning in from Israel, fella. What's the weather like where you are? Over here, it's wet and dull and horrible. Also, a good friend of mine, AD Pratt, Barry Baxter. Shane Bowen says, Gallimera Ginge from a very windy during the night Exmoor. Great dance anthem show last night. Must go as I'm off beating again. So he's obviously for another day shooting up there on Exmoor. So watch out, Shane's about, okay? Also, Sue Dickinson is tuning in as well. Andy Johnson, Lindsay Lamb. Thank you for tuning in, Lindsay. And also thank you for the information you've been sending me as well from time to time as well. Greatly appreciated. Right, that's it from me. I will keep my ear to the ground if I hear of anything. Please as well, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to me on YouTube, please go ahead and do that. I'm just trying to grow that little channel. That's also a great location to look at all the past podcasts I've done. You can cross-check things very conveniently. I put little titles in for each of the podcasts so you know what news is in where. And there's anything that you want to cross-check from going all the way back till last year, by all means, just go and have a look. And again, like and subscribe, tick the bell if you watch me on the old YouTube repeat, all right? Anyway, that's it from me. You take care. You have a good day. And I think it's a day for staying in. There you go. I'll catch you later. Ta-ra.